right? Oh, there we go. Period. We got value. That's what we like to see. My name is Iyanna Stevenson, also known as Iyanna The Model, and also known as Feline Avada. And I have a podcast entitled Sex Talk. So a little bit about Sex Talk. I was promoting an event last year about sensual movement, sexual conversation to kind of bring sensuality and sexuality to the forefront. And it is my belief that when we do speak about sex, it becomes something that is not only uh, demystifies a lot of the misinformation that we have, but it also makes us feel less alone. It makes us feel like things that we do in the dark that also happens to be spaces where people are violated and bothered and have a lot of violence done to their bodies is now in the light, and so it's almost safer because we can see it, or better for us because we can hear it. So I decided to continue this podcast. I have different people who I ask the same set of questions, and the conversation just flows naturally because everyone's sexual journey is so different. And that's what I love about talking about sex, understanding other people's sex. I consider myself a healthy relationship advocate, and I feel like I bring this to sex. So I'm interested in every relationship, your sexual relationship with yourself, with other people, your relationship at work, relationship with your best friend. Like, I just love the idea of connection and what makes us feel connected. So I wanted to invite Daphne in order to get this conversation going with this wonderful person right here. So I want Daphne to introduce themselves and let us know a tiny bit about you, and then we get ready with the questions.
Well, hello everyone. I am Daphne DUMORE. That's it. I don't have an AK and like BK.
CK.
Yeah, CK, DK. A little bit about me. I am 33. I don't like long walks on the beach. I'm a real cheap date. I usually go Dutch, if anything, because I don't trust y'all. And I'm very fascinated by sex. It's something I have zero problem talking about. I have a very rough history with it as well. And I'm hopeful to actually be certified in sex therapy soon. So.
What are your pronouns?
She, her, they, and fuckers.
I'll stick with the she, her. All right. So the question that I ask everyone is, what is your relationship to sex? It's a very open-ended question. Whatever comes to mind, please answer.
My relationship to sex is very much theoretical. I love all the research done. I love the ideas behind it. In practice, not so great for me in my history. So it's one of those things where I'm very much a proponent for it. I'm all for talking about it. But if someone's like, hey, you want to bang? I'm just like, I'd rather have a sandwich.
What things made it so that you would rather talk about it than engage in?
Cis straight men. My early 20s, cis straight men. I've only been in 4 relationships, and 3 of them were horrendous sexually. And I definitely had trauma that through therapy I've definitely worked on a lot, but also too, I think the rise as well of this kind of weird ego tripping when it comes to sex. Like I sadly am attracted to the opposite gender, and a lot of times, especially when like in space that I'm in, like, they tend to mostly be cis. There's this idea of just like, I have penis, that's enough, and like not really effort or anything. Even if I literally print out a list of like my turn-ons, like that's just too much work. And so like it's one of those things when you have enough bad experiences, you're like, maybe it's not for me. Maybe I'll just like read about it, I'll listen to things about it, and hey, if I have friends who are going through it, I'm like, do you need some lube? Do you need, like, what do you want? I got you. Like, remember the Code Words waffles if you need me to like call screaming.
That's interesting. So currently, interesting. So currently, it's something that you don't engage in.
Not even with myself.
Okay. Talk about that.
So currently much identify as gray ace. So on the asexual spectrum, you have so many variations. There's people who are sex repulsed. There are people who are sex indifferent, which are more like me. There are people who are very sex positive. And it's people with high sex drives just have no interest in doing with other people. People low sex drive. It's a whole myriad of things. For me, I still like the idea of it. I'm very, very pro kink, especially because I think something people forget is a lot of kinks and fetishes aren't actually sexual. They're sensual. And I am very sensual. I have zero problem with sensuality. Sexuality is where I find that people are bored, especially because sensuality requires effort and it also requires a little bit of social intelligence. And I want to be clear, I'm not saying that anyone who has any neurodivergence can't be sensual. It just requires like asking questions, being willing to have discussions. And I feel like our society has put into, especially because I'm in my early 30s, and I grew up with so many romantic movies that was just like, oh, you just like push them against the wall, and like there's no communication, there's nothing being said, and people are like, well, if it's just not natural, it's not real. I'm like, I'm gonna be more turned on if we talk for an hour about what you want to do to me than you just throwing me against the wall. What if I had back problems today? What if I'm gassy? Like, you don't know what's going on. Like, just pushing me against the wall, I'm gonna fight you. We have not talked about that beforehand. So right now, I'm very much just like, I still like try to educate myself about different things, different sexualities. I still like, I actually currently just bought like some supernatural erotica from the local bookstore down the street before I even got here. And I listen to like sexual audio because like that gives me like the brain tingles. Not ASMR though, because I don't like them. I'm not even doing it. But like with like audio erotica was really cool to me and such. So it's like one of those things where it's just like, I love the idea of it. I love what it can be. But in just my personal experience, it has never been that.
So you're y'all just ready for me to say something funny?
No, it's just everyone's just like,
we feel you. So when you mentioned sex with yourself, and I said, okay, talk about that, you also mentioned being on the asexual scale. So would you say that the asexual scale is the reason why you do not masturbate or do things that engage with sex personally with yourself and with your own body? Or is it something different, or is it just something that you're not interested in, or is it something that you probably could grow into?
So I definitely think I always leave myself open to the possibility it can change, especially because as we age, hormones change. Like I expect in my 40s, I'm going to be down to fuck because hormones are crazy when you're in your 40s. And I'm just going to be like, just waiting, just like someone makes eye contact with me for too long.
Right.
But right now, I think it's partly too just like, I am tired. One, I work a lot. And two, I definitely like, because I was also on antidepressants for a good chunk of my life. And I know that definitely affected my sex drive. But then even after I've been off them, it hasn't really changed. And for me, I need like a stimuli. And sometimes it's hormonal, like definitely like, and now and again, I'm just like, oh, what's this? Do I have to pee? Nope, I'm horny. Okay. So that happens sometimes, but not often. I say like maybe 4 or 5 times a year. But like, I need like an outer stimuli. For me, that's part of the reason I consider myself gray, because if I was in a relationship where the person, one, cared about me, and two, wanted to be sexual, I definitely, without a doubt, would be open to that. I'm not repulsed in any way. I'd be curious. But when I'm just by myself, I'm just like, you know what I could do instead is anything else.
That's very interesting because I am, I guess, both celibate and abstinent. Like, and it's not because I don't like sex. Obviously, I love everything about it, which is what we're talking about right now. But I also consider myself a very intentional person, and I refuse to allow spaces that my body exists in to not be intentional and to not be valuable, or someone who wants to take time, to not be patient. And there's like a whole list of things that I like require. You don't touch me, okay? And then I would rather read a book if you're not. Like, I would rather read a book. And to describe it to some of my friends recently, because I've been talking about sex often with my friends too. They're like, girl, who in your life? I'm like, nobody. No one's here. It's absolutely zero people. But I tell them, like, I also don't even I can't even get aroused by people who are not my jam. They say something crazy, I'm like, shrivel up. They, any wrong turn, and it's crap. So there's just a level of like the absence of arousal when certain things don't happen, and I don't know. I feel like I also resonate with what you're saying because it sounds similar to me. Like, and I wouldn't put myself on any, not to say that you are not on the scale, but I wouldn't put myself on any like asexual scale. But it's very interesting how it'll be a year in June that I haven't had sex, and I feel no way. I feel great about it. Okay, I'm here living my best life. I also feel like you being a burlesque performer is transmuting energy of sex, and I think that a lot of people, whenever they have tinted up energy of sex, sometimes they don't have an outlet for it. And I think being in the sensual arts is specifically an outlet for sensuality, which releases a lot of sexual energy, in my opinion and in my experience. So can you speak to how your burlesque journey and how your burlesque career does things sensual for you, and how would you describe that transmutation for yourself?
So I definitely agree. Burlesque is very sensual to me. I very much use it more as a creative outlet. Growing up, I wasn't allowed to do any theater, arts, or anything like that, except singing, and only in school. So I very much want an outlet. And I will be honest, like, my burlesque journey really started with spite. I just got out of a really abusive relationship and was told like they never found me attractive in the first place. So I was feeling low. And then I went to a friend of mine took me to my first burlesque show, and there was this beautiful, like, just gorgeous, like, curvy women who were just owning it, and it made me feel so good about my own body. And I was like, I want to do that for someone else. So I started performing, and I kind of love pissing people off because being fat, black, and okay with that is such a like thing that people do not like. I do hate those people, like, you're so brave. I'm like, am I brave, or are you just not accustomed to seeing people like me being happy? And so for me, it definitely can be sensual. Also, too, for me, like, I sometimes make acts that are very much talking about, like, I've made acts talking about like slavery and like institutionalization and stuff. And for me also too, it's just kind of I like to remind people that there is a difference between sensuality and sexuality. Because I feel like a lot of our media conflates the two, and that sexual is automatically sensual. And I have seen sex that is not sensual in any way. Like, if you're on the red line at the wrong time at night and you're seeing someone get head, that is not sensual. Like, you're just like waiting for like a rat to join in somewhere. And so for me, like, performing, I love the idea of interacting with people in a consensual, sensual way where it's not necessarily directed to any individual. Like, we're all sharing a moment. We're all kind of having, like, I kind of think of it as like a mind-heart orgy. But with like, there's consent, there's education, there's awareness, like people can revoke their consent. And I don't have to do much. Like, I'm just like moving to the music, creating kind of a caricature at any moment, depending on what act I'm doing. And we're all being able to enjoy this together. And the thing I like with burlesque as well is that I do it to make other people feel good about themselves. And for a moment, if I can make you feel that you're attractive, or that you can get up and do this too, or that maybe I can like go after that person that I like. If this person can feel themselves, then I should be able to too. That is way more powerful to me than anything sexual could ever be.
I had a question. I'm so sorry. No, it's fine. It's me. You better do that.
Do you not remember? I was something.
Remember. I feel that. I think that probably the range of expression and artistry that you have isn't just contingent on sexuality. And I think that that's probably what you were getting at, because I think that I focus on sensuality in mine. And that's probably the reason why it's such a big outlet for me specifically. And I think I do almost everything sensual arts oriented. And so it's a very big channel for me. But you mentioned also like the difference between sensuality and sexuality, and also a lot of the things that you're interested in might be kinky or fetish oriented, and it doesn't necessarily have to be sexual at all. Questions. Have you, right, this is all questions. Nobody said that like it's gonna be a surprise. You're asking me something now? Have you watched Sex, Love, and Goop on Netflix?
Goop? Like Gwyneth Paltrow?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so let me give a disclaimer, because every time somebody hears Gwyneth, they're like, and I'm like, okay, well, I feel you also. So Gwyneth Paltrow, which apparently she was under fire for whatever, because, you know, she be doing things, I don't know, that people don't like. People don't like her that much. But I would say that her shows on Netflix are, I would consider them life-changing, honestly. She has one that is called the Goop Lab, where her administrative team does these different life-changing experiences. So one episode might be about breathing so that you can alkaline your body. The next episode might be about energetic fields around your body to the point where people can touch you without even touching you. One episode is about sensuality and sexuality. And then she did a spin-off show called Sex, Love, and Goop that is specifically about sexuality and sensuality. Especially since you want to be a sexologist, and I actually want to be a semantic sexologist, I feel like we need to see that show. And in both shows, you can definitely learn something, but specifically in Sex, Love, and Goop, she has these three notable sexologists. One of them is a Black woman from Atlanta. And they show the different ways that you can learn more about your sexuality. One of those ways is to take this BDSM test, where you can find out all your kinks and the percentages of each kink, and even if you ain't know what it was, they're gonna tell you. And then the other one is a woman who created a sexual archetype list of 5 different ways that you can find out what your erotic blueprint is. Apparently, I am an energetic erotic, and that tells me a lot about who I am, because that's why it doesn't mean that much for me to be touched. That's why I can listen to music and feel fulfilled. That's why someone can rub their hands on my body sensually, and I can be aroused to the point where I can have sex and not be that aroused. You know, I am someone who is aroused energetically, and this goes past physical connection. So I would implore all of you all to find out your erotic blueprints and just know more about who you are in that sexual way. Because sometimes when you talk to someone who might be a partner, who might be a potential sex partner, you can speak different languages, but the different languages that you're speaking could just be your sexual erotic blueprint that none of you know, and that's the only reason why you're walking past each other and not really knowing how to hit the nail on the head in terms of how to please each other and arouse each other. So speaking about kink, what are yours?
I don't think we have enough time, let's be honest. Especially, I've been researching and like learning about kink since undergrad, because I've been to grad school as well, and I've done classes like for my peers about kink and psychology. Because a lot of therapists are afraid, and they're just like, "Oh, is it like 50 Shades of Grey?" And I'm like, "You will never say that, my friend.
No,
I will rip out your tongue from your ass if you ever say that to me again." For me, I'm definitely a brat, without a doubt, and that's someone who's kind of like, I like to think of it as like, it's make me in human form.
Yep.
Like, I'm very much the kind of person, I'm just like, I have a very strong personality. Anytime I've been to any kink events, I walk in the room, people are like, "Oh, you're a dom." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. I just don't sit idly by bullshit." Like, you have to know what you're about, you have to know what you want, be able to say what you want, and then you will get my interest. If you're just like, "Get on your knees," I'm gonna be like, "Make me."
Right.
I got a baseball bat. What are you gonna do? And like with that too, for me, something that I've always found fascinating, and I really hate that a lot of our media doesn't touch on, is I'm very easy mentally. Like, if you can get into my head, which isn't that hard, you can get into my body. And the thing is, I find a lot of times, sadly, that a lot of what a lot of males, gender-wise, are taught is that they have to go body forward, not mentally forward, or that they have to play these weird like mind games. And the thing is too, you don't have to play mind games. Literally, sometimes if you have enough rapport with a person, like I want to be clear. Don't say this like first time you meet someone instead of hello, being like I have imagined like what your sounds you can make in bed. Like say hi first. Like, but the thing is, like, I really wish that more people read like female written erotica, because the thing is, a lot of it's conversation. Like, even if we're at freaking Chili's, like I said, on a cheap date, and you're like in between like sharing fries, because I'm not gonna eat fries by myself. If we're sharing fries and you're just like, I have been thinking the entire night of how beautiful your neck would be in my hands. Like, I'm just gonna be like, okay. Now, what is this entree coming? And like the little breadcrumb. Oh, fuck you for it. But little breadcrumbs and like letting me know that I want it, letting me know that you want me, letting me know what your interests are. And the thing is, I think there's too many people who have this mentality that consent and conversation is boring or very dry. Like they think they'd be like, well, can I kiss you now? Can I touch you? And it's just like, you can say it in different ways. You can be like, can I kiss you? Can I touch you until you are gasping for breath? Things like that. And I'll be like, yes, please. Por favor. And I just think that effort is kind of lost because, and I do blame media a lot, because a lot of what, especially like, and I haven't been intimate in like 6 years or so. And so it's like mostly my early 20s. And a lot of what media tells guys and what other guys tell guys is just to like, go for it. Like, just like, women like it when you just like take charge. I'm like, I like it when someone takes charge with my consent and with the acknowledgement of what that means in our relationship for whatever time it is. So very much on like love getting spanked. Definitely love wordplay. I'm all for mind fucking. I also am kind of a service, like I'm definitely a service sub as well. My love language is acts of service. So like, and I am a little bit of, what's that term? The one that's like primal. I'm also a little bit of a primal sub. And the thing is, though, I'm a brat first for protective mechanisms. I'm fully aware of it now. But if you can show me that you actually care about me, you're willing to talk about things, you can take no for an answer, that's a big one. And I don't think many people realize if you can take no for an answer, that automatically puts you in we can possibly bone category. If you can't take no for an answer, that shows me that I can never trust you. I just had a moment where I was like, I cannot stop with this. I was like,
very interesting. There was a lot in there. I feel like I definitely agree, just personally, with all things said. I also think that there's so much misconception on how to be like kinky, you know? As terrible it is for someone to not even know how to start a conversation about sex. Like, yeah, it could be boring and dry, and yeah, you can like spice it up, but also it's like boring and dry. You can talk to people all day. You don't think to yourself, well, I just asked her about her life, and this is a boring and dry. Like, you be talking all day, and you got no problem with it. All of a sudden, you talk about sex, and now it's boring and dry. Okay. I just feel like I think more people should trust the process, but I think that's also the thing. I think a lot of people engage with people that they don't necessarily trust. So it's easy to just be like, it's kind of weird. Yeah, you don't even like him. Of course it's weird. It's a lot of things too, and also weird. You know, I think that engaging with people who you actually want to get to know and who wants to get to know you is not really hard to figure out, number one, and number two, is going to make or break how your sexual synergy is with that person. And it's really that simple almost. Like, even though I haven't connected with anybody, I feel like by the summer, it ain't gonna be no year, okay? It might be some friends and benefits up in the year. And I realized that, like, I'm becoming a little bit more casual. I think I've been, like, very serious for, like, a while. Like, if I ain't marrying you, you ain't touching me. But I'm like, well, you know, maybe I can have fun a little bit. And I think that casual energy that I feel is because I'm connecting with someone who is able to have conversations that I want to have with them, to get to know them more, intentional about like, yeah, send me your STI and STD results. Like,
Yes.
who do you think this is and what do you think we're doing? Yes, you should have protection at all times. Who do you think this is and what do you think we're doing? But just things like that, like be extremely serious about your body because it's the only thing that we are navigating this world with. And so taking care of it should be number one priority in all ways, in my opinion. What other question I had? Ooh. Off the dome. What is your zodiac sign? And have you ever had any sexual misconceptions based on that?
I'm a Taurus, and no, I've had people who ask me because I've talked about some of my relationship, and they're like, "Oh, what were their signs?" No. I know someone was born in the fall. And the thing is too, like I want to be clear, I have zero problem with people who are into the zodiac stuff. I only hate when people are like, I refuse to talk to you in any way, shape, or form because you're this sign. And I'm just like, okay, you're a red flag. All right. It's very interesting too because I talk to people who are very into astrology and they're like, well, I'm a Leo. And I'm like, oh, I'm a Taurus. What does that mean? And they just like look at me and I'm like, it means nothing to anyone. I've noticed. Like, it means absolutely nothing. I'm like, am I just a sign that just does nothing? I'm a cow. At least let me eat some grass or something. And make good food. I guess that's the part of Taurus. But yeah, nothing. I couldn't even for life of me figure out anyone I've been with zodiac. So I have zero idea. Sadly, sorry.
It's okay. No fight, no foul. I am into zodiac signs. I definitely could learn a lot more, but I think I definitely know a good amount. And it's just interesting because different zodiac signs do hold different misconceptions when it comes to sexuality. And so it's always interesting to ask somebody because sometimes they do hear something and I just be like, you heard that for real? And it be true. Did you ever have any misconceptions based on your personality in particular, or have anybody think that you are a certain way, either sexual or the way that you engage with other people in pursuit of sex, just because of who you are?
Definitely, without a doubt. I'm a very intellectual person, and for some reason, people see that as like you have to come at me talking like quantum physics in my ear. I just like weird stuff, and I'm a nerd. So like someone could literally like message me just talking about like different breeds of like backyard chickens, and I'd be like, dude, like I love that. Are any of them like really fluffy? Like I will meet you with like an IQ of like a 10-year-old because if it's animals, I'm like all for it. But I definitely have had people, especially so like I have a master's in counseling psychology, and while I was in undergrad for psychology, I remember I went on a date. And I asked like normal questions like, oh, what do you do? Like, what are your interest stuff? And he was just like, well, you're trying to read my mind, aren't you? And I was just like, what? I am like a sophomore. What? And like he like froze up and he was just like, he's like, I know you're just trying to like get into my head. And I was like, I am literally just asking normal like first date questions. And the thing is though, it was very interesting because like I was on OkCupid for a long time, and they started off with quizzes, and I freaking love quizzes. So I was on it, and I met this guy through that, and he mostly messaged me because I said I was very kink friendly, and I have no problem talking about kinks and my psychology of them. And after like kind of shutting down and like refusing to answer any questions I asked, he was just like, I think you look great in a diaper, and I was just like, where did that come from? The thing is though, luckily, I'm the kind of person, if I know the area, we're going to go to my favorite restaurants because you're not going to ruin the food. We can have a bad date, but I love the food here. So this is just going to be a story for the next time I come in. If it's the same waitress, she's going to know the deets. But yeah, he very much thought that I would just be open to absolutely anything. But also I couldn't ask questions because I was studying psychology, and that means I was trying to read his mind, which was terrifying. And that's the thing I found is that when you like put out there that you're kink friendly or kink open, a lot of people have really, they'll just look at your pictures and just assume what you are in the kink spectrum, what your kinks are, especially sadly as a Black woman. The amount of people, when I used to be on FetLife, not been on there forever, the amount of race play people would just like immediately start off with. And I was just like, I don't know who you think you're talking to, because it is not me. And you are also letting me know that you don't know anything about consent, that you're just starting off like calling me these like racial slurs. Like, no. I also got a lot of people who wanted to pay me to dog them. I'm like, I'm not that side. I have it on my profile, right? But you're big and black. Okay. I didn't choose either of these things. I didn't know that every time a big black person is born, they're just given a whip. I didn't get mine in the mail. Is it on back order? What happened? And just because of like my size and my body and the fact I'm intellectual, and I'm fully aware I do have a dominant personality. I'm very much the kind of person, I will say what's on my mind, because I have just gone through enough in my life that I'm like, if you don't like what I say that's on my mind, you don't like me, and we don't need to continue talking. I'm not gonna, I hate the idea of being nice over being kind. Because I'm a very kind person. I'm not a nice person. Because nice is just meant to please you. Kind is meant to actually be a good person. Because telling someone, oh, you look like great in that outfit when you know it makes them look hideous. Like, no, this outfit looks horrible on you and you can do better. That's the difference. And so yeah, I've had a lot of people just misconstrue. A lot of people want me to do weird things to their bodies that I'm just like, I don't know. I've asked people too. I'm like, why does I went to a lunch, for those who don't know, in a kink community. It's like when you event you go to just like introduce and meet people in a non-kink environment. And this guy comes up to me, he's like, oh, you're definitely a dom. Would you like to step on my dick? And I'm just like, there's a Quiznos down the hall. What are we doing here? No, sir. And it was just like, I'm actually a sub. And he looked me up and down. He's like, you're too big to be a sub. And I was like, what the fuck? Yeah. So yeah, that's the most misconceptions I've had.
Those mother lovers.
Mm-hmm. I've been cussing up a storm. Are we allowed to cuss? I should have asked that. I'm sorry. You can check me out.
Girl, I be cussing. So. Yeah, it is what it is. Yes. Interesting. I think that it's so crazy how stereotypes just become sexual misconceptions. But I mean, a lot of stereotypes are sexual. I don't think we just think about that too much. And I think that it's very, I'm not gonna say that men don't receive it a lot, but it's crazy how femme bodies receive sexual misconceptions and stereotypes like almost tenfold, like almost all the time. I think that it's interesting. Okay, so I, of course, have done sex talk with, not of course, you don't know this, but I've done sex talk with about 30 different guests over the course of a year. I'm really excited.
Woo!
It's like the year anniversary, actually, since it's April. Shout out to me. And one of the guests that I spoke to, which was crazy, was someone who I actually knew for a while, like a couple years in Miami, a celebrity. So I was like, okay, if I get you on a sex talk, the number's going up. And when I spoke to him, it was like a horrible conversation. It was the worst sex talk I ever had, and the only sex talk out of 30 people that was actually bad. It was the only one. And it turns out he had a lot of sexual repression. He had a lot of sexual trauma that he never worked through. But what pissed me off is that he asked me to get on sex talk, and I was like, oh sure, you can come, but it's like, if you know you got these issues, why are you coming on here to talk about sex? He averted every single question I asked him. He talked nothing about his personal life, and he brought in different issues of sexual misconceptions and sexual stereotypes, and he talked a lot about Black women's bodies. And one thing that he mentioned was, I was talking to him about, you know, who I am as a very empowered woman who loves her body and who uses her body as the main source of art. And he was like, yeah, you know, I'm sure people see you. Has everything to do with like the things that they have not worked through and the issues that they're having. And we really stand to him and not to us. Speaking of some issues of sexuality, do you have any sexual fears? And if so, what are they?
Good question. I'm really upset. My first thought was just sticking it in my butt. Especially because, yet again, I was most sexual in my early 20s, and guys would be like, oops. I'm like, there's no oops. There's no. No. There's a thing called prepping that needs to be done for something like that. You don't just stick it in and be like, well, guess I'm here, gonna make myself cozy. No. Nope.
I should not mind.
There's so many people I feel like I should have pooped on. I think my biggest sexual fear is sadly very common, especially among femme people and among people who do sex in any way for work, and is that me revoking consent is not taken seriously. And that has happened, and so once it's happened once, there's always that fear in the back of your head that it can happen again. And I think too, because I'm kind of going back a little bit to misconceptions, because I'm a big Black woman, I've always felt in some ways kind of lucky that I'm not seen as much as a sexual being walking around the world. It's easier, I'm more invisible to many people. Even if you've ever watched the Black Lady sketch show, they have a skit about a bigger Black woman and how she's invisible to everyone. And the thing is too, like even online and such, like so many of my friends talk about how like they get unsolicited messages from guys. I have literally received one unsolicited dick pic in my entire life. That's it. I don't get catcalled. I've had a lot of slurs yelled at me on the street, but I'm not really catcalled. And so for me, it's like I took protection that for a long time. So then when my consent was revoked and not taken seriously, like that like blew my mind, because I grew up with this misconception throughout my entire life that because of my body type, like that couldn't happen. And of course, like I actually worked and helped people who have been assaulted in some way, and I was like, oh, it's about power, not about these misconceptions. And so like that fear is now really there where I didn't have it before. And just the idea of just in general, like someone just not caring, which is a little lower level. Because you can not care and still respect someone's consent. But just like those are my fears really right now. It's just like that happening.
Do you think that your fear has ever sabotaged a relationship you could have with someone sexually?
Good question. I don't think so, especially because I've only dated through dating apps and I'm not on any. And I've asked like especially a lot of my friends are older, and they're like, oh, meet through friends. And I'm like, okay, and because I live in Massachusetts and it's very racially segregated, most of my friends are white. And I'm like, okay, ask your friends if they will date out of their race. And so many won't. And also too, a lot of my friends are poly and I'm monogamous. So they're just like, oh, I know someone in their 40s who'd be interested. And I'm just like, are they monogamous? Nope. Well, I don't know if that'll work. So I don't think so too much. I have had two friends from college, but I found out after college that we had humongous crushes on each other. But because of my misconception, one of them, I never tried anything. The other one had a girlfriend, so I wasn't going to be a homewrecker. Especially because she was sweet and I loved her. And I was like, I could never do this. But yeah, one of them we found out afterwards, and we kind of told each other we liked each other, but we both had the misconception that we would have no interest in each other.
And how is that going?
Oh, he has a long-term girlfriend. He lives like 3 states away.
Oh. I know. We all had a moment of sadness.
Oh, it's okay.
Collectively, like, oh.
He's not aged well. We're good.
Oh, not that he don't look at no more. Let me see. What else we got? I would say that this could probably be good. I'll do a little time.
We could do Q&A after
Okay.
this question.
Sounds good. You mentioned being more sensual than sexual. When would you say that you discovered your sensuality, and how important has that been for that shift when you did discover it?
I think in my 25, 24, and it was actually through like, I don't know what was happening. I was going through some ads or something and got like, I have a lot of sex worker friends, and one of my sex worker friends was like, hey, can you listen to this audio for me that they were doing? And I was like, sure, because my friends know I'm very sex positive, so they'll be like, hey, can you look at this nude before I send it? And I'll be like, yeah, you need to remove the thing in the background. Your diddle's still stuck in the wall. You need to get rid of that. But they sent it to me, and I was just like, oh, okay, all right. Do I have to pee? Nope, I'm horny. And so I realized, I was like, okay, so because sexuality is very body-based, sensuality is very mind-based. And I like started listening to other audios, and I realized too, like I read erotica, and I even wrote like, I wrote anime erotica for a long time. It's not good. It's not good.
Lower your expectations.
Please. The amount of typos alone will just take you right out. But I realized that I had always, like, through like reading and writing and like audio, all these things are things that I've always been interested in or always liked, even in like high school before I even kissed anyone, because I didn't have my first kiss and sexual experience till like sophomore year of college. And I was just like, wow, there's this whole thing that's like, one, guaranteed to make me like feel tingly, and two, gets my mind running, gets me like thinking of things, gets me invested. And that's when I realized, like, I'm a very sensual person, but I very much always thought like sex, like I very much had like, it just is in my head that it's very physical. It's also always about the guy more than anything. So I think around then is when I realized I was very sensual, and it's very important to me because I find it really weeds out people who just won't put effort into relationships of any kind. Because if they can't understand that, like, hey, if you want to be sexual with me, you have to be sensual with me. And they're like, oh, I'll run a bubble bath. And I'm like, that's, no. Yeah. And if they're not even willing to ask questions or anything, that's a good, like, litmus test. And so I really love my sensuality because it's very fulfilling, more so than sex ever has been in my life.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Daphne. Everyone give Daphne. Thank you. I want to say thank you for trusting the process and coming on here and talking. You ain't really know what the hell was going on, but you said yes anyway.
Yeah.
For anyone that has any questions for Daphne, for me, any comments, concerns, anything you got going on? Yes.
I was wondering if you had any good book recs, because you were at my bookstore earlier and I didn't have a good shelf for you, so I was wondering if you had any good things that I should order.
All right. So she said, is there any pronouns?
Oh, she heard, yeah.
She said, are there any good books you can recommend specifically for sensuality and sexuality?
Yeah, I mean, a romance session probably is a good thing, but I like that you were talking about the intellectual aspects of things too, and that's always interesting and interesting to me too, so having those as well.
Okay.
Just one or two.
Yeah, I mean, I have one. It is called Intimacy Educator by Caffeine Jesse. It's actually one of the books in a program I wanted to take for somatic sexology that discusses every orgasm the female body can have and every orgasm the male body can have, but it is centered around healing painful sex. And it is specifically created for sexologists who want to use this actual sexual connection and engagement as therapy in and of itself. Very, very interesting. It has a lot of information. You learn everything about anatomy. They show diagrams of the female and the male anatomy, where to find certain things, where to find different G spots, where to find every spot, and how to release and how you can do things when people have trauma in their bodies. So that would be my suggestion.
What's it called again? Yeah, say that.
Intimacy Educator by Caffeine Jesse. CAFFYNJESSE.
Yeah, I don't remember authors' names. So I'm just like, I'm staring at you. I'm like, I left my phone downstairs. I can't look anything up. So I lean towards supernatural erotica, partly because they tend to be more kink friendly and actually have more consent than like regular erotica. And so anything by Lindsay Sands, it tends to be very good. Kim Harrison is also amazing. And if you want something just in kink, I think a really good intro book, it's Kink 101. And it goes through, like, it has diagrams on, like, if you wanted to be in rigging, it has, like, how to have conversations about what you're into, what you're not into. It goes through, like, the difference between, like, being a top or a bottom. And it's, like, it's given in a way that isn't heteronormative, which I really appreciate. I don't remember the author's name.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
I have a question for Daphne. If you could speak towards like your earlier relationships, if you have any like regrets or appreciations for more that like negative experiences that you've had, not to be like disrespectful, because obviously you can feel however you want to feel, but just personally, I feel like it would help me hear it.
I think that's a really good question. I would say my regrets are not listening to my friends telling me how great I was. Because I very much grew up with this mentality that because of my size, because of my race, especially because I went to a 90% white school, I didn't know a single Black person in the state. So I was just like, I'm going to take what I can get. And I had so many people around me at the time who very much kept telling me how great I was. But the people I was in relationships with I would have to like crawl through glass to get a single compliment, or even if I've done like bend over backwards. So I regret not listening to my friends, but I'm the kind of person that I've learned from every negative experience. And I firmly, especially my last one was horrendous. And I have learned what I will never allow in relationships for myself. And that is something that with my own stubbornness and knowing me, I had to learn the hard way. And I can now keep other people from repeating my mistakes. So that is what I appreciate.
Yes.
Do you guys ever struggle with finding forums for normalizing talks on sexuality? I'm kind of curious if you guys ever prayed to find being able to normalize these types of conversations in community spaces, or if it's essential to kind of have spaces like this that are a little bit more contained, or forums like podcasts that are a little bit more direct. And yeah, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, because I do want to be a certified sexologist as well, and I'm also kinky, and I also want to get into like dom sex work and such. There's a lot of avenues I have just been exploring, and I would say for like even like the last 4 or 5 years. So I already know where the communities are because I have searched a lot of them. I now live in Atlanta, Georgia. Big sex city. I mean, just like the culture of sex in Atlanta in general, even if it's not kinky in particular, it's very big. You know, they're known for the pimps and the hoes, for prostitution. They're known for strip clubs. So there's a lot of sex that's there. And because there's so much sex there, I think there's so much facets of sex there. They have Sex Down South there, an all-Black sex conference that happens every year. They have this lesbian festival called Queendom that happens there. So you can imagine like the Black women sexuality that, showcases every year there in the spring. There is a lot of sex things that I know about that exist both in Florida and in New York. South Florida has one of the largest fetish festivals in the world. It's called, oh Lord, what is it called? Dang. That's crazy. It might come back to me. There's also a lot of swingers clubs in Florida that I have been to, some swingers clubs and like sex dungeon things that happen around the world. I know that Montreal is a really big sex positive city. New York is really growing with what I'm interested in, which is Black sex positive spaces. I am taking a Patreon course for this dominatrix woman who also just opened up her own like kink dungeon that's all Black women owned, So I know where they are, but I've also been tracking it for about 4 or 5 years. And I do find that I have community because the people who I have had on my sex talk, I had this woman, her name is Glamazon Tayomi. She's a, sexual therapist, and she also made the cowgirl workout famous. And she's like this big Amazon woman. She's always in sex spaces. She's kinky as well. And like she was one of the guests on Sex Talk. So I am connected now. And they exist. They're around.
I would say for New England, there's I only know New England. I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah.
Not the hard chuckle in the corner.
It's true. New England. That's it.
Yeah. For New England, I know there is KinkyCon in New Hampshire. I will say, sadly, too, New England spaces tend to be predominantly white. if you live in Mass, don't act like segregation doesn't exist. So there's KinkCon, New Hampshire. There's also Fetish Flea, which I believe is also in New Hampshire. Live free or die. They're gonna fuck until they do. But surprisingly, I have found more open-minded and diverse spaces in nerd culture. So like I run tabletop games. I love creating fantasy and stuff. And when people are willing to pretend that they're half demon, they're also willing to pretend that they might like it in the butt. So I found with a lot of those geek spaces, like I volunteered with PAX East recently, and like there's a diversity room, and like some of the games even in the diversity room are kind of like could be sexual. They aren't automatically, but these spaces allow for people to kind of explore their sexuality and to be able to discuss things and be like. And also too, I find a lot of tabletop games, they actually teach you how to like ask for consent, because you have to ask the player like, hey, your character and my character seem like there's some tension. Could we flirt in game? Do you think we might do the dirty? And the thing is too, like I have a game Friday, and I'm just realizing I'm gonna have to flirt with one of my friends as a guy dressed as a woman. So that's gonna be fun. But a lot of geek spaces definitely tend to be a little bit more diverse and a little bit more willing. But even with geek spaces, we all know the history of D&D. So definitely they are out there. Sadly, Massachusetts is very Puritan, and like it's a little hard here. There used to be a dungeon. I know Machine had Kink Night, but that was shut down recently. So they've been trying to like get rid of a lot of spaces in Mass. So sadly, if you know poly people who are swingers or kinky, you're more likely to be able to get ins, because sadly a lot of it's in Boston. And the ones that aren't in Boston are like invite only. You have to know the right person. New England.
Any other questions? Yes.
So I think from your conversation, you think that safety and like consent is imperative. And then you've also talked about how like your past like experiences like terrorized or shaped your, I guess, like experience now in a relationship with sex. And you've also said that that person who we had like conversation with in the past and the way that he was like spread and you were like, well, like this is like entirely sort out. I guess like how do you kind of reconcile that as like how do you, I guess like in a basic like how do you like stop feeling unsafe from other people basically, or like what does that look like for you?
That's an interesting and good question. I guess for anyone who didn't hear, how do you go about feeling, I guess how do you avoid the feeling of unsafety when it comes to your interaction with people who might be unsafe or might be shocking and have a disparity between how they're engaging with you in your sexual life and your sexual body or even sexual conversation? I think that confidence has a lot to do with just feeling uncertain in any way. Like there is, the way that I describe confidence is just you just being very sure. And you being certain about something, it almost is foolproof of uneasiness or discomfort. It's like being able to dance in the middle of the room and not really care. It's like, well, somebody might feel a little uneasy about this, but because I'm so confident in this, I can kind of do this thing. With that certainty, I think it just comes down to you being unwavering in your movement. Like if you say the sky is blue, someone says the sky's purple, you're like, girl, the sky is blue, and ain't nothing you can tell me is gonna make me feel like the sky is not blue. And I am certain the sky is blue. I'm confident the sky is blue. There's nothing you can tell me that can take that away from me. If the person says, well, it's, it's raining comets outside and it's like a, I don't know, it's like an inferno in the sky. You can be like, I ain't even scared of that, girl, because I saw it was blue 5 minutes ago, so you can't even get into my head. Almost that simple. Like there's this way that I feel so sure about myself, and I think that gives me equilibrium and peace, where other people have very, very little effect and impact on the way that I feel about myself based on the way that they might receive me even. I think that, that's just a big part of it. I think also I believe in what Daphne mentioned earlier about being kind and not nice. I ain't that nice for real. Like I can be real type A sometimes. I might throw some people off. But I am kind, and I do my best to be the best person that I could possibly be, and the best version of myself. And I do consider myself very healthy, and I do everything health-wise, whether that is not drinking, not smoking, like Daphne, eating right, and practicing in a good relationship. You're like, you lost me. 1, 2, not 3, not 3. But there's just a lot of things that I do in my life to make sure that I am the best. And so if someone receives me as not the best, or someone is triggered and they do something and they try to, I'm going to be like, well, I already know who I am. So really, nothing that you say is going to make me feel like I'm not being who I am. I am who I am at all times, and I try to be the best version of that at all times. So I think that helps in every situation, whether I'm professionally speaking with someone, whether I am sexually in the bedroom with someone, whether I am anywhere, I can be unwavering because I am so much myself at all times, and I don't let that slide for anybody.
I definitely agree with that. I definitely think knowing who you are, but also knowing what you want, not what you're told you want. Because I've been on a date forever, but I started a rule to not kiss on the first date. And the amount of people who have been aggressive towards me because I've not wanted to kiss on the first date, and how they'll change from being like really nice and sweet until like they go in for a kiss. And I'm like, oh, I just don't kiss on the first date, but we can have another date. Shows me way more than it should. And it's been kind of terrifying sometimes. But also too, when you know what you want and what you need, and you're able to state that, you can easily find out where someone's coming from. So if they're actually going to ask you more questions to understand it, or if they're going to try to convince you that you want something different or something else would be better for you. And that for me has been big signs of whether or not I can be safe with this person. Because if this person will not take me as I am, will not accept boundaries I have with my own body, then that lets me know right off the bat that they do not care about my safety. They don't care about how I feel in any way. And I don't want to have anything to do with them.
I would like to add to, insofar as you being confident, and that is, you also being unwavering, you being more confident because you are trusting yourself, you're only being yourself, you're only doing what you do, is going to allow you to understand when your body tells you something. And you will be able to read the signals very easily. It's not really hard to know who not to trust if your body's telling you. And when you are very true to yourself and true to your body, especially if you are very rooted in even the physical of your body, like your actual physical nerves and gut can tell you when something might not sit well. Maybe your head's not telling you because you're like, oh, but he was cute, but your body will absolutely tell you, or energy will absolutely tell you. So even just being more true to yourself is going to allow a lot of the intuition and the natural energy that you can't actually get rid of if you don't listen to yourself or stay true to yourself will come back to you, and you'll have a lot more understanding of what things you can avoid just based on you being you. So that also helps me. Like if it feels wrong to me, it doesn't even matter what it might sound like because it feels like it shouldn't happen. Anybody else? Or are we coming to the close? All right, well, that is up for sex talk. That is it, everyone. Thank you very much. I'm going to pass it on to Chris so she can give closing regards.
Yes. Thank you. Such a sensual Sunday. Thank you all for coming. Just reminders to join us on Tuesday and Thursday here at 6 o'clock. On Tuesday, Iyanna will be here once again as we watch her film. Sacred energy exchange, a personal story on polyandry, kink, and masturbation. We're also going to have a photography exhibit. And then on Thursday, Iyanna will be teaching a burlesque 101 class for folks of couleur. Thank you for being here. Feel free to chill out, have fun, have a great evening. That's all I can say, but I have jokes in my head. And thank you. Have a good night.